Hello learners, welcome back to the course on AI in Human Resource Management. Today we start with a new module, a module which looks into innovation and HR specifically. And in that specifically I look into one distinguished topic which is AI augmented HRM. We'll look into that in greater detail. I'm Dr. Abraham Sirlaisek. I'm an assistant professor at the School of Business, Indian Institute of Technology, Guwahati. Now, before venturing into the session, I would like to clarify that when you look into AI in the field of human resource management, in module 1 itself, I've introduced you to what AI in HRM would be. But then I've also introduced some concepts like HRIS, Human Resource Information System, or basically something like EHRM. So these are different aspects whereby you have to clearly understand the nuances of each and every significant dimension of technology in HRM. So don't think that these are AI in HRM. Let's say, for example, EHRM. EHRM is a totally different concept. There are some, underlining connections that I agree. But that said, we will try to distinguish each and every single concept and try to understand each of them independently and later in a collective manner. So that would be one of the biggest agenda for today's session and the coming modules specifically. Now when you look into AI augmented HRM, or which is also called as HRM AI. HRM AI is defined as the ability of HR to connect with existing BI, business intelligence systems, and use these AI technologies to process data and support the critical decision making, leading to positive operational, relational, and transformational outcomes. Let's understand it more clearly. Now, when you talk about HRM AI specifically, or AI augmented HRM for that matter, AI is something which has come as a successor of business intelligence, I would say. When you are looking into business intelligence, it has always been there. But when it has come out as an artificial or not a natural way, it would be understood, or it could be comprehended as HRM AI. When you look into business intelligence per se, because this is something which has triggered the discussion here, a BI system actually refers to the processes and methods, please note, that help decision making using fact-based support system. So when you look into aspects like HRM AI, it is to be understood as the ability of HR to connect with existing BI systems and use these AI technologies to process data. So when you look into HRM AI, it can be defined with two main points. First, AI, to succeed in HRM, it must deeply be integrated into the existing business intelligence systems, which help simplify intelligent applications. Second would be that building and applying AI from scratch without a BI system can be costly and very complex. So a strong BI system is needed to successfully embed HRM AI technologies. So this is what we understand with respect to the AI augmented HRM. So a strong EHRM, what I've introduced to you in the previous module, or HRIS system, can actually make it easier for companies to adopt HRM. So please note, when you're looking into HRM AI, things like EHRM, HRIS, which I had mentioned, but I'll clarify it now, will actually be a precursor for organizations who are going to adopt HRM AI. Let's say artificial neural networks can be used for workforce planning. It's a classic example of AI augmented HRM or HRM AI specifically. Now, we have introduced you to the concept of EHRM, HRIS, HRM AI. Let's understand it by dissecting it into different dimensions, like let's say objectives, nature, the technological base, impact, etc. Now, when you look into the objectives specifically, that clarifies everything actually. In fact, focus on improving HRM strategy and efficiency and helping with employee and client management. So EHRM, the objective is to enhance the efficiency. Whereas when you look into something like HR information system, which is quite prominent these days, it provides high quality information to HR and management and help HR gain a competitive edge. Again, this, if crudely put, if I can say HRM as efficiency, HRIS is all about high quality info, or let's say more of effectiveness angle. Now, when you look into HRM AI or augmented HRM, basically with respect to AI, it uses data and AI tools for better decision making in HR. It certainly improves HR specific operational, relational and transformational outcomes. So please note, when you're looking into HRM AI, it is more of an aid in decision making. So these are the critical differences with respect to or vis-a-vis the objectives. When you look into the nature as such, EHRM deals with operations, it supports HR functions and transformation. When you look into HRIS for that matter, these are all about systems, HRIS, systems and technologies that help HR track and manage. But HRM AI, use of the latest tech, AI, IoT or whatever is the latest upcoming technology to enhance HRM. So more or less the synonymity comes here, but again I have established the differences. When you look into the technological base, EHRM is more of a web-based tool for employee self-service and strategic HR choices, whereas HRIS is all about data, databases. It uses databases, apps, softwares to collect and manage data, whereas HRM AI, in that case, relies on advanced BI systems for handling data from various sources. Now, when you look into the impact, let's understand from the impact point of view, specifically EHRM is all about helping cross-organizational boundaries and managing HR information effectively, whereas you look into HRIS, it improves HR reports. So when one is all about the cross-functional organizational boundaries, this is about the managing the data or improving HR reports, shifting the focus from more of operational to more of strategic HR or long-term perspective. Whereas HRM AI on the other hand enhances, again the keyword would be decision making, HR decision making with AI. It improves HR service, quality and definitely the efficiency altogether. Now let's look into a complex conceptual understanding for HRM AI. It looks complex, but I'll try to break it down. Please be with me. When you look into HRM, you see that there are different conceptual parameters, be it human resource planning, the strategic HR planning, performance management, recruitment and development, training and development, employment relations, compensation management, etc. So anybody who has a certain background of HRM will certainly know this. When you're looking into AI technology, this is what the focus would be. You look into expert systems, you have aspects related to data mining, you have knowledge discovery, you have big data analytics, specifically OCR and intelligence robots are other aspects, face recognition, NLP, visual scanning systems are there, voice interaction is there, BP neural networks are there. So basically when you look into this model, it illustrates how different AI technologies can be integrated with various HR functions to form a comprehensive AI HRM system. So this lines between HR functions and AI technologies, which actually make it more complex, or perception wise it looks more complex. It actually, these are the lines between HR functions and AI technologies, which shows that AI methods can be applied to specific HR areas. For example, let's say strategic HR planning. Strategic HR planning is linked to expert systems. This criteria or this lines are linked to expert systems, data mining, knowledge discovery, indicating that AI can support HR planning through data analysis and decision support. So the relationship between AI technologies and resulting AI HRM systems suggest how the combined use of AI transforms traditional HR processes into, let's say, intelligent, automated systems, and basically improves the decision making, efficiency and personalization in HR management. So you look at this AI HRM system, the result of the combination of HRM and AI. This is actually the crux of the course. you see, you understand that there are certain possibilities of intelligent decision assistance system, right? Again, the word assistance is clear. You are not allowing the AI to solely or fully make the decision, or you are not there till the point where you can actually take the human element out of the picture, which we have already seen in the previous module. We will also have, in future, definitely, we are already in the evolution stage of intelligent evaluation systems. We have certainly human-machine interactive systems. We have intelligent training systems. We have consultant systems. We have intelligent incentive systems. So this particular slide certainly underscores the conceptual model for HRM AI. In fact, you have to understand this as a combination of HRM AI technology. So when you talk about AI in human resource management, the left-hand side, from strategic HR planning, performance management, be it recruitment, be it training, all these are essential functions of human resource management. But that said, when you integrate this with AI technology, you'll see that this AI HRM system is what is the output, or is what is governing the human resource management system totally today. It could be the intelligent decision assistance system. Again, I would like to underscore the assistant word here. Or maybe intelligent evaluation systems, or whatever we see, different combinations of HRM and AI and technology. We see that these are the life force power that are driving the human and the human resource management and the artificial intelligence segment, the integration of both. When you look into the conceptual model for AI, you have to understand that this model illustrates how different AI technologies can be integrated with various HR functions, as we have already understood. Specifically, the lines between HR functions and AI technologies can be applied to very specific areas altogether. Now, when you look into the conceptual model, you have to understand a multi-level framework exists for the development of HRM, and we are trying to make you underscore this particular multi-level framework. So when we talk about this multi-level framework for development of HRM AI, we see that organizational performance can be at the top level, but when you start from the basic evolution, it starts with the contextual level. So when you talk about the entire development of HRM AI altogether, you have to start from the basics. This framework essentially is divided into 5 levels, and you see that the various dimensions that illustrate how HRM can be enhanced through artificial intelligence and other strategies to improve overall organizational performance. So if you are more interested in reading this or reading about this and to know more about this, I will definitely suggest you go to Prikshat et al. 2023. If you read the research paper, you'll get more idea about this multi-level framework. I would definitely thank them in developing this particular framework. Let's understand this. When you are looking into the contextual level, basically, the contextual level is all about researching HRM and AI. It doesn't just mean studying how AI is used in HR. To do meaningful research, it's important to select the right methods and theories. We know about that. Whoever is a researcher out here will definitely agree to that. When doing research, it's common to borrow theories from other fields. But that said, it's crucial to also contribute new insights back to those fields. So choosing the right research method and design is essential to stay within the established guidelines. So at the foundation of the contextual level, the framework highlights the theories, the methods and the samples specifically required for developing and understanding HRM strategies. So when you look into the specific theories, you'll see that it talks about how specifically HRM research can benefit from combining ideas for both technical innovation and psychology, for that matter. So this is what the theory suggests, or this is what the basic intention of the theory here is. So you look into different theories. Let me take some examples, like the technology acceptance model, TAM, or theory of reasoned action, or maybe for that matter technology organizational environment, or the innovation diffusion theory, IDT, or maybe the theory of assimilation innovation. So all these theories, researchers can better understand how AI is used in HR and how people react to it. At least it forms a theoretical hook to initiate the understanding about AI in HRM management. When you are looking into specifically research methods, you will see that most HRM and AI research has used, critical reviews, have used quantitative methods, experimental designs. However, there are very few qualitative or mixed method studies. So this is a gap in the research because qualitative and mixed method approaches could provide deeper insights into how AI impacts HR, especially since HR practices differ across the countries and industries. Another possibility is the selection of samples. Most HRM AI research is focused on developed countries, especially if you look into US, with little from Asia or Africa for that matter, or Western Europe. There's also a lack of studies on specific industries, let's say limiting understanding of AI's impact on sectors like maybe finance or healthcare for that matter. So this typically hinders the progress in addressing unique challenges such as skill gaps and job redesign. When you talk about the specific strategies, you have to look into three key areas, at organizational level we are moving to. We have seen what is more significant with respect to the contextual level would be the theory, would be the research that is happening, or how you go for the sampling, all these things essentially. Now, when you look into the organizational level, the three key areas needed for AI adoption in HRM inevitably would be the AI HRM strategy, the AI-oriented culture, and the organizational facilitators. Let's look into that in greater detail. There are two types of alignment specifically when you talk about AI HRM strategy, which is the strategic alignment and the operational integration. So I've talked comprehensively about strategic alignment in previous modules. It is what that links the organizational business goals with HRM's AI strategy, showing how AI supports business needs. When you talk about the operational integration, it connects HRM systems, let's say like data hubs, with the company's overall data infrastructure like cloud storage. So when you look into AI-oriented culture for that matter, it is more about the mindset. The mindset of employees and leaders towards AI is very critical for the adoption of AI in HRM. So an organization's culture must be supportive for AI for successful integration. When you look into organizational facilitators as a third important area, we understand that leadership and management play a very vital role by providing necessary support, necessary training and communication about AI projects to ensure smooth implementation altogether. So the existing technology, infrastructure and support systems are also critical for the success of the same. Now we move to the third level, which is the HRM reconfiguration level. When you look into HRM reconfiguration, it is that AI can enhance various HRM functions. So let's understand this on basis of different technique identification and based on some of the assimilation processes. So when you look into the AI techniques, so certainly the identification of the same, a mix of AI techniques, it could be something like data mining for employee selection, it could be intelligent agents for career development, or information extraction for recruitment for that matter. So all these are typical AI techniques that can be utilized. So using these multiple AI techniques ensures that HRM tasks are handled efficiently across the board. When you look into the assimilation process, it is about the process of integrating AI into HRM, and isn't that straightforward because it involves several stages including diffusion, routine use, or even to a certain extent further expansion. So understanding this process typically, I would say, helps organization fully adopt AI in HR functions. Then you have the third one, the ethical principles. When you talk about AI, you have to talk about the ethics or the ethical principles. So AI adoption also brings ethical challenges such as data privacy, such as fairness and decision making. So organizations need clear ethical guidelines to address these concerns and certainly to define the stakeholder responsibilities. When we move to the next level, we have the HRM consequences level. So consequences are critical, but consequences should be understood from different dimensions that it can be categorized into. It discusses what the AI integration in HRM would actually lead to, and let's start with operational. Operational refers to how AI certainly impacts the efficiency and effectiveness of HR tasks. So AI-driven HRM can improve productivity, it can reduce cost, enhance safety, improve HR service quality through speed and accuracy. So it helps streamline operations, leading to overall performance improvement. When you look into the relational angle, we'll see that the relational consequences highlights how AI influences relationship within the organization, particularly between, let's say, HR and employees or managers. AI can empower individuals to handle HR tasks independently, improving response times and certainly to a certain extent service levels. So it can also build trust by making HR processes more transparent, strengthening relationships and HR's credibility. Now, the most critical and the most difficult one would be the transformational, but it would be the beauty of integration of AI in HRM. AI transforms HR from a basic support function into a strategic role altogether. So AI enhances, typically, if you ask me, the organization's capacity to analyze large data sets, allowing the HR to focus more on strategic decision making. So it can also standardize the HR processes globally, improving coordination and strategic alignment across different units of organization. When you come to the next level, which is organizational outcome level, we see that it has certainly three key organizational outcomes. One is the human capital, another is with respect to the motivation it can provide, and three is the retention. When you look into human capital, we see it's all about the skills, the knowledge, ability of the employee, etc. We talk about motivation, we have factors, let's say like job satisfaction, like commitment to the organization, and even teamwork to a certain extent. We talk about retention, we have the percentage of employees who can stay long term. So what we understand here is that the interaction between human capital motivation and retention can certainly influence both these operational and financial results. Let's take an example and understand this. A skilled workforce actually boosts performance, there's no doubt about it. Motivated employees enhance work quality, again, no denying the fact, and high retention prevents productivity losses. This is again a fact, period. So thus, we believe that the interplay of these factors will certainly impact overall HRM outcomes. So at the top of the framework is what we understand as organizational performance, whereby we certainly see that this organizational performance is very critical. We believe the interplay of these factors will impact the overall HRM outcome. So what is at the top is the organizational performance, which certainly represents the ultimate goal. This is what we are all trying. Why we are? If you are supposedly being questioned, why you want to integrate, why you want to take all the headache of integrating AI into HRM, organizational performance is the one key answer for that question, which represents the ultimate goal. So this includes both operational, it could be day-to-day functions, and financial, profitability and cost efficiency outcomes. All activities at lower levels in the framework contribute to these particular performance goals. So this is what is exactly happening with respect to the multi-level framework for the development of HRM AI. Now, let's understand the application of HRM AI. So we in this course, while developing this course, as it's an evolving course, will not find a full-fledged textbook related to the topic. But what I've specifically done is I've taken some of the content from the research papers, evolving research thoughts, thought processes, empirical investigation, so that you get to see what is happening. So maybe 5 years down the line, I hope you are pretty much aware about how your textbooks are made. 5-6 years down the line, when all these studies get consolidated, they get transformed to a textbook. So this is how the textbooks are generally made. But today, what you're getting is more of a real-time research output that is going on, and I'm trying to bring that to you so that when you're talking about something as critical as AI in HRM, there is always a possibility that tomorrow it may get evolved, tomorrow it may get refined or redefined for that matter. So let's understand it from a real-time perspective rather than dwelling into some old content. So when you look into specifically AI in HRM, we see this multi-level framework, different levels, ultimately contributing to what we understand as the ultimate goal, which is organizational performance. Now when you look into this HRM AI, we have to understand it from the application point of view. Again, I would like to bring all the key functions of HRM. If you have not gone through that, I will ask you to revise it again. We have training and development, we have recruitment and selection, we have some processes with respect to pre-hiring, post-hiring, and even performance management has a greater ramification in the human resource management domain altogether. We have the talent management and reward management also. Let's look into these application of HRM AI in these functional modules. When you talk about training and development, we have to understand that there are certain critical aspects or critical softwares or critical platforms which actually deal with it. Pandora for crisis decision making, AI's assistance in reskilling and upskilling. So when you talk about training and development, HRM algorithm is there for decision making, for training that is still there relevant in industry in today's world. We talk about recruitment and selection. We have critical aspects of benchmarking system in AI based recruitment. We have expert systems for selection process. If you ask me, there are data mining to be done to improve the personnel selection. You have the AID, Artificial Intelligence Design Framework. You have the algorithm for recruitment and selection. Again, pretty much deeper and maximized or greater research is going on with respect to the application of HRM AI with respect to recruitment and selection. When you look into pre-hiring, I've already introduced you to chatbots using NLP capabilities for communication and engagement. You have some deep learning neural network for text classification and matching for person job organization fit, which we have discussed in the third module specifically. We have the predictive analytics for predicting the time taken to fill a particular position. When you talk about performance management for that matter, you have designing fair AI for performance management. So applicability of data mining in performance management, you have the options of comparative longitudinal analysis of employee performance over time using data analysis. When you talk about talent and reward, specifically I will talk about talent management, you have the options of data mining for enhancing human capital. Let's say you have talent analytics. You have talent analytics for talent management. You have fuzzy logic for gap reduction between the desired level of capabilities and the existing capabilities of HR professionals. You have digital transformation of talent management. To talk about reward management, again, I have to bring in fuzzy logic or artificial neural networks that generally aids in talent and specifically reward management altogether. When we talk about, let's say, something with respect to the retention part, you will see that there are certain specific functions of employees, upskilling and future of work, which also is part of the applications of HRM AI. You talk about, let's say, job design, job evaluation, and even to a certain extent, employee engagement. You see that AI as an expert system becomes very critical here. Manager alerts based on match score provided by the neural networks, due for promotion alerts, chatbots using NPL based, machine learning for better employee performance. All these are some of the tech that is running under the domain of job design and evaluation. You talk about, let's say, something like workplace planning. You have machine and deep learning coming into your aid for workforce planning. You have soft computing coming in aid for your workforce planning. You certainly have the evolutionary programming for prediction of future demand and supply of labor. When you talk about one of the most critical aspects within the organization, it will be employee health and well-being. We talk about that. You have specific applications engaging the employee sentiment. We have typical applications with respect to online corporate reputation, the branding or brand managing. You have the concept mapping. You have something like extracting meaning from themes, cognitive computing. All these aspects come under employee health and well-being. We also have some applications of HRM AI with respect to the critical employee turnover. AI for employee turnover risk, calculating that we have seen in module 4. We have also observed that there are specific AI techniques for employee turnover prediction, or applicability of data mining, also something which clearly helps us in understanding the employee turnover with respect to the integration of AI. Now let's understand one of the most critical aspects. So whenever I talk about AI, I do not shy away from talking the ethical considerations. See, when you talk about the ethical consideration, the first and foremost aspect inevitably, inconspicuously could be bias and fairness. AI systems have shown biases in decisions. We have seen this over the previous module, especially in areas like, let's say, hiring and promotion. Let's take an example again and understand. See, AI used by companies like Amazon, which we have seen in the previous studies, we have touched upon that, exhibited bias against women. So while other firms displayed bias against people of color. So there is a possibility of bias, and please remember those discussions where I said that AI models and ML are as good as the data it is trained on. So whatever bias the data is having will be certainly reflected with respect to the AI system. So ensuring fairness and reducing these biases is a major ethical concern. When you talk about, let's say, accountability aspect, accountability is all about determining who is responsible for the decisions made by AI, and that is very much challenging because AI-driven decisions can lack the moral, the value-based judgment that humans certainly apply. So it raises questions about accountability. It particularly raises questions when decisions lead to negative outcomes for certain employee group. Who is answerable to that? This is a very vital question. Now, another important aspect here would be the trust in AI. Now, the moment there are biases, there are issues with respect to the accountability, you always have a trust problem or trust deficit in AI. There is a lack of trust in AI systems, especially regarding their transparency and reliability. So to foster trust, what you can do? AI systems need to be more transparent about how they make decisions and reliable enough to behave as expected. So building both a rational, cognitive and emotional trust is critical. You talk about transparency, you talk about AI systems often operate as black box. Generally, this is what is to be or what is brought in to aid transparency, but many a time the practical understanding is that it operates as black box. When you see AI systems often operating as black box where users technically don't understand how decisions are made. So transparency in AI's decision-making process is critical to ensure that the users feel confident in the system's fairness and reliability. You talk about ethical considerations. We have also concerns with respect to the legal and privacy issues. The use of AI raises legal concerns such as data protection, employment termination, or liability for workplace accidents caused by the bots, and to a certain extent the overall protection of personal information. So there is also a need for regulations around AI to ensure fairness and to prevent harm to the employees. We talk about equity, diversity, and inclusion. Early applications certainly of AI have shown us that to undermine EDI efforts by perpetuating biases, EDI is vital. Ensuring that AI systems promote equity and inclusion rather than reinforcing discriminatory practices is supposedly a key ethical consideration. When you talk about the human AI interaction, the ethical responsibility of deciding which tasks should be delegated to AI versus humans is vital. AI systems may perform well in case of mundane tasks or repetitive tasks, but struggle in complex human-centered situations, which can actually raise ethical concerns in the decision making. You also have typical consideration with respect to the workplace impact. AI could potentially displace workers or cause changes in job roles, raising concerns over what we understand as occupational shocks. So employees must be equipped with the right skills to navigate AI-driven changes, and organizations must typically ensure that AI systems don't harm job security or workplace fairness. When you talk about the ethical considerations, you have to talk about the challenges also. The first one, clearly understood bias. AI algorithms actually used in mainly hiring or performance reviews for that matter, or even promotions, can actually reflect biases from historical HR data, resulting in unfair decisions. So please note, designing algorithms carefully and regularly monitoring them is essential and vital to ensure that the fairness is there and it reduces bias to a great extent. You cannot fully do away with it. That is what my understanding is, but you can certainly train in a way that it ensures a certain bit of fairness and reduces the bias. When you talk about the privacy concern, you will see that AI systems that process employee data raise issues related to data collection, related to storage and usage for that matter. So HR departments specifically must comply with data protection laws like what we have seen in Europe, the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. It should ensure transparency, it should obtain employee consent, etc. We talk about the skill gap and resistance to change. We see that implementing AI in HR actually requires the HR professionals to be trained in AI or using AI tools and interpreting their output. So additional to this, employees may resist shifting from traditional HR practices to AI-driven ones. Please note that inertia is a reality. People do not always, even if the organization is ready after taking in a lot of or pulling in a lot of resources, there might be a possibility that the individuals are not ready to change. This skill gap and resistance could also emerge as a challenge. We have a challenge in terms of the over-reliance or over-validity on technology. Excessive dependence, certainly on AI for decision making, can certainly lead to overlooking human intelligence or judgment or intuition for that matter, potentially missing important context that AI might not actually account for. When you talk about job displacement and ethical employee practices, you will see that automating certain HR tasks could actually lead to job loss. So it is not that AI coming in will not have any job loss. This is the reality. But ethical considerations focus on retraining or redeploying affected employees and ensures AI adoption aligns with these fair employment practices. When you talk about the cost and resource consideration, please note that integrating AI into HRM can be very costly with respect to the initial cost, requiring investments in technology, requiring investments in infrastructure, employee training, etc. So organizations need to be carefully evaluate final and the financial impact and allocate resources appropriately. So it's important to assess the return on investment, the ROI, and ensure that the long-term viability of AI implementation in HRM is there. Now let's look into the important input from our part, the recommendations for implementing HRM AI. Specifically for HR professionals and practitioners, there is no further substitute other than investing in AI knowledge. HR professionals, what you're doing even today, now with this class, is what is all about investment in the AI knowledge. So HR professionals need to understand AI's potential and limitations to make informed decisions and manage AI-based HR systems effectively. We talk about HR professionals and practitioners. You have to encourage innovation and learning, foster a workplace culture that typically supports artificial intelligence experimentation, creativity, or even to a certain extent continuous learning. Please note that there are chances that you may fall in the beginning, but that does not give you a leeway to do not or not to accept the AI technology. Provide training and upskilling to help HR professionals integrate AI into their roles. When you talk about the transparency and fairness factor, please understand, implement AI systems that are transparent and free from bias with regular monitoring to detect any issue. So clearly communicate the ethical guidelines governing AI used to build employee trust. When you talk about employees, it raises or there is need to raise AI awareness, specifically educate employees about the role of AI in HR processes, addressing concerns about job replacement, highlighting the collaborative nature of human AI interaction. You talk about the training and support, help employees adapt to AI-driven HR systems by providing training and encouraging them to develop skills and complement AI. You talk about open communication, create spaces where employees can share feedback, ask questions and voice concerns about AI in HR, actively address any issue to ensure a smooth transition. For IT and data management teams, there are typical recommendations with respect to data privacy, data systems, AI technologies, etc. When you prioritize data privacy and security, work closely with the HR to establish strong data protection policies, ensuring the compliance will factor with privacy laws and safeguarding, sensitive employee data. You can always look into integrating the data systems. Collaborate with HR to integrate data from various platforms, enabling smooth data flow and ensuring accuracy for AI analysis. There's a possibility to evaluate AI technologies, stay updated on AI advancements relevant to HR, continually assess their impact on HR processes and ensure they align with company goals. There are also some possibilities with respect to legal and compliance teams. The recommendations would be keep up with the evolving AI-related legal and regulatory requirements, ensure compliance with laws, specifically around fairness, equality, and data privacy. Assess the legal and ethical implications of using AI in HR, addressing potential risks, maybe like bias or discrimination, or even to a certain extent privacy concerns. There could be collaboration specifically with HR and IT to create clear AI governance guidelines, ensuring ethical and legal standards are met. When you talk about the industry associations and policymakers, please note there is always a possibility to encourage industry groups, policymakers, or even stakeholders to share best practices, case studies, or even insights on AI in HR who are actually implemented this. There's a possibility to work together to create industry-wide standards for AI use in HR, ensuring responsible and effective deployment of AI technologies. Now, let's look into a typical case study where we try to give you a practical understanding of what has gone effectively and what has gone wrong with respect to the AI-enabled chatbot. Let's understand the background. Please note, Hilton, a global hospitality giant, launched Connie, an AI-enabled chatbot named after the company's founder, Conrad Hilton. The primary goal of this AI-driven initiative was to enhance the employee experience by providing timely assistance and resolving HR-related concerns. So specifically, Connie was designed using NLP, which allowed it to interpret and respond to various employee inquiries in real time. So when you talk about the implementation part, once the background is understood, I think the implementation is what makes this case more interesting. Connie was integrated into Hilton's HR support system to actually streamline the employee communication between employees and HR department. So the chatbot was available 24/7, offering immediate responses to common queries like, let's say, payroll issues, benefits information, or even some simple aspects like leave policies. So employers could simply type their questions and Connie would deliver accurate, quick, and personalized responses. That is what made it more interesting. So the chatbot's core technology focused on NLP, allowing it to understand conversational language and provide typically meaningful answers, thus reducing the response time and improving the overall HR service delivery. When you talk about the Hilton AI-enabled chatbot, the outcomes specifically were three. It improved the HR efficiency typically by automating the routine inquiries. The HR department was typically able to focus on more complex tasks, leaving simpler, mundane, repetitive queries to the chatbot. So this freed up the HR professionals' time, allowing them to concentrate on higher priority issue. It looked into the faster response times, like employees no longer had to wait for HR personnel to be actually available, which significantly reduced wait times and enhanced service deliveries. It also had, with instant, reliable response to their concerns, employees reported higher levels of satisfaction. So the chatbot's efficiency made it a convenient tool for HR-related issues, contributing to an overall positive work environment. When you look into the particular case, you'll also see that there were some critical challenges that were coming through the AI-enabled chatbot. Handling complex queries was one of them. The chatbot actually initially struggled to manage more nuanced or complicated HR issues that required deeper context. For example, let's say complex questions about legal matters or tailored employee benefits required ongoing training of the AI to improve its responses. There was some personalization issues, like employees expected more personalized responses in certain scenarios, which proved challenging for the initial AI algorithms. This led to the continuous refinement and the need for human backup support when the chatbot couldn't adequately address more complex concerns. It looked into employee expectations also as a particular challenge. So Hilton faced the challenge of managing employee expectations from what the chatbot could do. So many employees expected Connie to fully replace human interactions for HR queries, while in reality the chatbot was designed to assist. Please note, not completely replace the HR personnel. You also had some concerns and challenges based on the privacy and data security. As with AI implementation, data privacy and security were major concerns. Employees needed to feel secure about their personal information being handled by AI systems, so especially when it came to sensitive HR matters like salaries or benefits. So Hilton had to implement stringent security measures and transparency about data usage to build trust among staff and among the people involved with the organizations or the different stakeholders. Now, when you look into the insights, please note, this case study categorically gives us certain information, important information with respect to the AI chatbot usage, where you can do it right, where it is excellent, and what are the different challenges. Please note, there is always a need to balance automation and human interaction. While the chatbot could efficiently handle routine queries, human support remained very critical for more complex matters. So this highlights the need for AI to complement, and please note, not replace human judgment in the HR processes. You also have some typical aspects, not only balancing but also continuous improvement, what we call as the Kaizen in Japanese. Continuous improvement is the key. Please note, AI systems require regular updates and ongoing refinement to adapt to changing employee needs. Hilton ensured that Connie's algorithms were continuously improved based on user feedback and typically the usage patterns. There was also some insights that we can get with respect to the transparency that builds trust. To foster adoption and trust in AI system, what Hilton did was it emphasized clear communication about how the chatbot used employee data and the safeguards in place to protect privacy. So transparent policies on the data usage helped build trust among employees, promoting broader adoption of the AI-enabled system. And finally, ensuring that employees were aware of the chatbot's limitations and benefits, so training helped align their expectations. So additionally, educating HR professionals on how to leverage the chatbot's capabilities created a smoother workflow, an efficient workflow, and an effective workflow. So please note, this case study typically gives us a basic understanding of how and when to use AI chatbot, what could be the different benefits associated with that, what are the different challenges that can come in, and what are the different recommendations you can give in for the organization to improve it. There is one thing I would certainly like to underscore. Expectations are critical. Many a time human beings expect on the basis of the person who is in charge. Let's say you talk about your organization, you talk about your role. Maybe you are looking for a promotion, maybe you're looking for an incentive, maybe you are looking for a bonus or recognition from the organization. You are thinking that it will come because X or Y or C for that matter is sitting in the chair or sitting in as your boss or as your person who is a decision maker on your career. But that said, when you are putting in AI, you're bringing in technology, whether your expectations will be in sync with what is being delivered. This is critical. This is where the problems are coming in. Please note, when you are looking into, we have just seen in the case study also, we have looked into those cases where the expectations are not matching. Most of the judgments which otherwise a human being would have been made in a different way, but that's not the way how AI went about it. So this is critical. When you talk about implementation of AI in HRM, there are a whole lot of possible good things that you can talk about. I'm not telling this is negative, but these are some of the serious things we should take a note of when you are attempting to implement AI in HRM specifically, because there are always a mismatch. There might be a possibility of mismatch between what you expect and what is being delivered, because AI would be trained in a different data. AI would be trained in a more of a holistic understanding with respect to the world. But you might have a difference of opinion. So this is where most of the issues arise. We'll come up with more details about AI in human resource management. Till then, take care. See you in the next class. Bye-bye.